Tensions are mounting in West Papua after Indonesian authorities arrested a leading figure in the province's independence movement. Victor Yeimo is a spokesperson for the West Papua National Committee, or the KNPB. He's been on a police wanted list for treason over his alleged role in widespread protests back in 2019. This arrest comes as Indonesia's military intensifies its operations in Papua following the killing of an Indonesian military official 2 weeks ago. Benny Wenda is the interim president of the United Liberation Movement for West Papua and the founder of the Free West Papua campaign. He lives in exile in London. Benny Wenda, welcome back to Breakfast.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Benny, you're calling for the immediate release of Victor Yeimo. What exactly is he being accused of?
I demand President Jokowi and his government and police Victor Yeimo immediately release. That is my request to the Jakarta, because Victor Yeimo is this civil resistance movement peacefully inside. He's a figure in West Papua. It is clear that Indonesia is trying to distract attention from the huge military operation it is launching in Duga, in Tanjaya and Puncak Jaya. Around 700 people from the 19 villages already been displaced over the past 2 weeks. Internet cut off almost in Jayapura, in Wamena, and all last 4 days. So this is clear that Indonesia hiding something. I'm calling the media to allow international media allowed to West Papua, Oxfam and Red Cross to allow West Papua into West Papua, and international intervention needed, because when the arrest of Victor Yeimo, KNPB will come out on the street to demonstrate that he's released, and that is becoming worse and worse. Now, thousands of troops in West Papua, 20,000 troops. Now the current deployment of 400 troops called demon troops. This is ordered directly from the president of Indonesia, and the head of the speaker of the Indonesia parliament has said that they will discuss a human rights matter later, but military operation needed now. Right. I think this is really urgently needed.
The Indonesian President Joko Widodo is saying, and the positioning is, they're responding to the death of the Indonesian intelligence figure, the Brigadier General who was shot dead last month. He's called for a crackdown in the province, and as you say, more troops are being ordered in there. But also, the government has moved to designate Papuan separatists like Victor Yeimo as terrorists, and declare that the West Papua National Committee are terrorists. How's that going to affect the position of people who are in West Papua and speaking out?
I think this killing of the generals. My question is, these generals, is why he's in the village? This is generals. I think this is set up by the Jakarta because they lose the political and legal argument over our territory. And the real terrorist is Indonesia, because Indonesia illegally occupied since 1963. Almost 500,000 men, women has been killed. That is a terrorist. Burn the villages. Almost military operation continue in Duga, in Tanjaya, Puncak Jaya. Over 50,000 civilian displaced according to UN special, procedure of the UNHCR. Human rights, churches and school and hospital empty, occupied by military. Over 400 displaced Papuan have died from the starvation. This is urgent needed. So,
Benny, are you saying that the Indonesians perpetrated the murder of the general?
This is set up. That question why this general in the village. That's the biggest question in now. I'm questioning the Indonesia government why this general will be in Tanjaya, this small place.
And
I call the real.
Victor Yeimo has been calling for negotiations between the West Papuan Independence Movement and the Indonesian government because, they are demanding a legitimate self-determination process. If he's making that call for negotiations, why would the government take this step to arrest him now? I understand he's not even been charged yet, but he's arrested and held.
We've been calling, even myself, I've been calling, almost 3 times to President Yudhoyono to sit down with me, find the last solutions for as an equal partner, and this is Victor Yeimo and every Papuan, we are calling to sit down and talk, and particularly me and President of Indonesia. That's what now time for, not go around the bush. We have to sit down and solve this problem and through the international mechanism. That's my request to Jakarta
and Benny,
to the President of Indonesia.
Just finally, Benny, what do you want the world to do? What's your message to the Australian government and the Australian people listening?
I hope that Australian government to look at the situation. This is because we know that in the Pacific is Australia, New Zealand, moral obligation to support and look at this current situation in West Papua. We need intervention because this is situation just like East Timor. And I want the Australian ordinary people, please lend your support and support West Papua because you did 20 years ago in East Timor case. One day you will be proud when West Papua independent.
Benny Wenda, thank you very much for joining us again on Breakfast.
Thank you.
Benny Wenda is the interim president of the United Liberation Movement for West Papua and the founder of the Free West Papua campaign. As I mentioned, the Indonesian president has ordered a crackdown. They've sent in forces, a battalion called Satan's Forces. They've also, internet and phone lines to the regional capital have been cut too since the killing of that general back in April.